I was a critic of music for my newspapers back in Paris. I thought I would come here this morning to hear the Orange County Youth Symphony Orchestra, and I had no idea that they were playing a piece of my music on the program.
Well, I was about to introduce the piece that you composed, but perhaps you yourself should introduce it to our young audience, especially since you are apparently so eloquent with your words.
Oh, I would be most happy to. That was a movement from my famous Symphonie fantastique, or the Fantastic Symphony. Now, a symphony is a musical composition written for an orchestra that is usually made up of several sections that we call movements. My Symphonie fantastique is about a young artist who sees a woman of his dream, and he falls desperately in love with her. I used a reoccurring musical idea or theme to represent my beloved here.
Mr. Berlioz uses what we call an idée fixe. This literally means a fixated or recurring musical idea. Now, it takes on different guises throughout the symphony, but will always represent a specific person, place, or an idea. In Symphonie Fantastique, the idée fixe represents the artist's, as he said, beloved. The fourth movement of Beethoven's Symphony No. 6, we just played for you, is a perfect example of what Mr. Berlioz was just talking about. Something we call programmatic music. Programmatic music tells a story through music, but it doesn't use words.
Beethoven titled his movement The Storm, and it depicts a furious thunderstorm. Each family of the orchestra is used to depict this musical storm, building from just a few raindrops to a great climax with thunder and lightning and winds and sheets of driving rain. Rain is depicted by the largest family of the orchestra, the violins, members of the string family. Wind is depicted by the larger violas, cellos, and basses, also members of the string family. Thunder is represented by the percussions, which includes the timpani, the bass drum, and the cymbals. Lightning is represented by the brass, which includes the horns, the tubas, the trombones, and the trumpets. And the winds are represented by the bassoon, the clarinets, the oboes, and the flute.
Mr. Berlioz, speaking of families of the orchestra, which we just demonstrated for you, curiously, what instrument do you play?
The guitar. But I don't see one of them in the orchestra today.
No, sorry. The guitar is not normally a member of the orchestra. Neither's the piano, actually, but we do have one of those here today.
Oh, well, I did not compose much music for the piano, but one of my closest friends, one of the most famous pianists and composers of all time, did. His name was Franz Liszt.
Liszt attended the first performance of Mr. Berlioz's Symphonie Fantastique, which we opened with today, and was struck by how original it was. He was especially interested at how Mr. Berlioz uses the medieval Gregorian chant called the Dies Irae. Dies Irae literally means day of judgment. Now, here is the Dies Irae in Mr. Berlioz's version that Liszt originally heard in 1830, played for us by the woodwinds and the brass. Now here it is in Liszt's version. Listen to the left hand of the piano.
Liszt composed a set of variations for piano and orchestra called Totentanz. A variation is a type of music with the same idea or theme is repeated, but each time it is repeated, it is slightly changed. Listen carefully to the different variations and to the different characters of the Dies Irae as Ashley and the orchestra perform Liszt's Totentanz. Boys and girls, did you hear this spooky sound? Liszt uses the strings of the orchestra to mimic the sound of dancing skeletons. I know this device very well since I was one of the first composers to use this style of playing that we call collegno. In Italian, collegno literally means with the wood. It is an instruction for the violin player to bounce the wood of the bow across the strings rather than draw the hair of the bone across the strings. And as the French say, it is très macabre.
Speaking of French composers and the macabre, Camille Saint-Saëns also composed a piece called Totentanz, which is in German, but in French it is called Danse Macabre. Since we are talking about dance, why don't we invite Larry Rosenberg of the Anaheim Ballet to explain just how classical dance or ballet originated and how it all works. Here's Mr. Rosenberg. Thank you.
Well, it started in the courts of Italy and in the courts of France, where originally they only taught ballet to rich nobility. And then they made an amazing discovery, which of course all of you sitting here already know, and that is that nobility doesn't have anything to do with being rich, that all of us have inside an inner nobility. That means an inner prince or princess. And all you have to do to see it is when you see someone act with courtesy or they stand up tall, move with energy, can change the whole theater. In fact, let's do that now. Everybody sit up tall. Everybody in your chairs really, really tall. Up, up, up. Good, orchestra. Okay, there it is. And let's say we don't speak the same language and you've never seen ballet ever in your life, and still we want you to be able to understand it. So she would do what? She'd say, I. She points to herself. What is love? 2 hands over your heart. Every country, everyone understands that. That's love. Dancing? Okay, she's just shown movement with her arms. That's dancing. And for you? Good, all right. All right, now it's your turn. You're going to say, we love watching you dance. And here's how you do it. First, start by pointing to yourself. That's we. Point to yourself. Love, 2 hands over your heart. Watching, 2 fingers, you, to be polite. 2 fingers toward her. Dance. Good job. Okay, all right.
Saint-Saëns' Danse Macabre is what we call a tone poem. A tone poem is a single continuous piece of orchestral music in which the content of a poem, a story, or a painting is told through music. According to legend, death appears at midnight every year on Halloween.
Halloween? Halloween, candy, costumes. Oh my gosh, it's my favorite.
He calls forth the spirits from their graves to dance for him while he plays the fiddle. Skeletons dance for him until the rooster crows at dawn, when they must return to their graves until next year.
Featured in this tone poem is the use of the xylophone, a member of the percussion family, but a bit unusual in a symphonic orchestra setting. It is played to imitate the sounds of rattling bones. There is also the sound of the harp, a member of the string family of instruments who joins in the fun. Writers, aside from William Shakespeare, who had an influence on you?
Oh, mais oui. I think there was Johann Wolfgang von Goethe.
Goethe was a German writer and artist who inspired many composers along with you during the 1800s, including Ludwig van Beethoven and our next composer, Paul Dukas.
Yes. Like myself, Dukas was another French composer who was inspired by a Goethe poem when he composed his tone poem, The Sorcerer's Apprentice. An old sorcerer departs his workshop, leaving the apprentice to do the chore.
Now, to see how it all ends, watch Disney's 1940 animated film, Fantasia. Does anyone here know who played the part of the apprentice in the film? Does anyone know? Does any? Mickey Mouse is correct.
Maestro, it is time for me to return to Paris to write my review of your marvelous performance today and all of this wonderful music.
The overwhelming power of Mr. Berlioz's orchestra and orchestration is evident, especially in the final movement of the Fantastic Symphony, which is what we also started the program with today. But maybe we should let you, Mr. Berlioz, have the last word.
Witches and monsters have gathered together for the artist's funeral. There are roars of delight as the funeral bells ring, mocking the dies irae as the witches continue to dance.